Super late model star Steven Nasse has announced that he will indeed be racing full time in the Cars late model stock tour this upcoming 2024 season. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. This is over at Short Track Scene, where author Matt Weaver spoke with Steven Nasse down at SpeedFest. I believe they're in Georgia, where he indeed won the pro late model race and finished in second to Bubba Pollard in the super late model race down there. But he announced he is going to be running a full season in the Cars Tour. He said, we're going to do a lot more of the late model stock stuff. We're planning on running the Cars Tour, the whole tour. But it's not just going to be doing the Cars Tour. He says he is still going to be running his super late model stuff. He says, we're still doing all the big super late model races, a majority of them. We have a busy schedule. It's like 36 races we have planned out. We're going to put an emphasis on the late model stock and the Cars Tour. That's the big change for this year. So what I find really interesting, and I'm not sure if he addresses it here, is we do know that it's not just the late model stock portion that the Cars Tour has. They also do have a pro late model division as well. So it will be interesting to see if Nasse does indeed do double duty for most of the season and race in the late model stock portion of the Cars Tour, as well as in the pro late model division. And I think if that is the case, he is indeed the favorite, I think, to win that pro late model division. No doubt. I mean, he has absolutely been on fire in the pro late model car. Obviously won in SpeedFest. He was very dominant, I believe, down at in the Snowflake 100. Obviously, he didn't come away, but he still had a very strong car for that. And then, so you got to think that he would be the guy to beat. He would be the front runner if indeed he's racing the pro late models. But they don't exactly say if he's going to be racing in the pro late model. We do get this, that he is going to be racing that Force Reynolds chassis that he raced. I think it was a couple races last year. He raced at Tri-County in the Car Store, and then he ran in the South Carolina 400 at Florence Motor Speedway, where he was crew chiefed with Chase Pistone, and he was running that Force Reynolds chassis car, as Matt Weaver says here. And then we get more of this here from Nasse. He says, well, I think the series is going in a good direction. It's got the right people in place to make it even more popular. It has a really big fan base, and I want to perform in front of as many fans as possible. That's the Cars Tour right now. They are going to continue producing that product. I think he's absolutely right. I think the Cars Tour is the number one kind of asphalt series out there, short track series out there, obviously excluding NASCAR. Because I don't think that the super late model stuff with the ASA Stars or even the Southern Super Series is really competitive on that front. I think even the Whelen Tour might not even do as well as the Cars Tour. I would probably say the Cars Tour might even be more popular than the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Nasse was pretty competitive in those two late model races that he ran in. He wasn't up at the front, but he was running like 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and was pretty competitive around there in both of those races. So, and I think those were like some of his first races in a late model stock. So obviously we know that he's got talent. He's one of the top super late model drivers in the country. I'm sure he'll get the late model stock figured out, and he will definitely probably be a threat for that Cars Tour Championship. One of the other things that he does say that he likes about the series is this. He says they have a lot of veteran drivers that are good racers and guys that don't want to go out there and tear up their equipment. Don't get me wrong, there are still some wrecks in Cars Tour, but I haven't seen a lot. I have seen a lot of respect between racers when I run those races. I feel like the racers in that series are some real racers. You don't have a lot of young punks, and there might be a few here and there, but even the young drivers race for the old school veteran guys, and I just feel like it is a series of old school racers because of it. Yeah, I actually agree with that. I think that's a really good analysis or commentary on this series as well, especially in the late model stock division. I think they definitely have a lot of mentors, good, strong mentors. A lot of the older guys do run the cars or they're crew chiefing the cars. They've been in late model stocks for a very long time. They used to run the local circuits, and now they're doing the Cars Tour. So I definitely think that's something to point out. And even when you do have like the young guys like Brendan Butterbean Queen or Carson Quaffle, and they might have some words to say or something after the race, but they're usually racing pretty clean. But it's really hard racing. And then even if you look outside Cars Tour, you look at the Thanksgiving Classic and the hard racing that Butterbean Queen put on with Josh Berry and Caden Honeycutt. They didn't wreck each other, but they weren't afraid to use up their nose. They weren't afraid to push each other to the limit, but they knew where that limit was. And it put on for some of the best racing I've seen in a short track in a very, very long time. The Thanksgiving Classic was absolutely phenomenal down there at Southern National. So, but the Pro Late Mile is a little bit different, right? Usually I have a lot more young kids. We had the huge incident last year with Katie Hettinger and Caden Quaffle, and then Gavin Bichelle got into it as well in the last lap of that race. And there's been some chaos in that series. A little more hot-headed, not as steady or cool. Don't have that kind of veteran influence that the late models have. But this is what Nasse had to say about the pro lates here too. He says, also their pro late model series really feels like a developmental deal for these kids to learn the right way before they get into a late model stock. A lot of these kids today jump right into a super late, never win a race, and then they're off to NASCAR. Cars Tour feels like an education, multi-stages to get where you want to be. And then you get to race the veterans in late model stocks. There isn't a huge power difference in the cars, but going straight to a super is a lot, and too many young kids do that. They come super racing, and they're in over their head, and it's out of control. He goes on to say, but I really enjoy Jack and his series. He's a good buddy, and I've always supported him. With the ownership group that's come in and the people they have in place, I just think it's a great deal and a good place to race this season. So that is what Stephen Nasse had to say about the Cars Tour. He will be racing in, it sounds like, in the late model stock portion full time. We don't know whether he'll be doing the pro late models. One would think that would make sense, that he might do double duty. We'll see. But he's also talking about here how the pro lates is more of a developmental deal. So maybe he wants to leave that alone and not get in there and race against that, as it's more of that developmental. And the kids are a little bit more hot-headed. So maybe he'll stay away from that. But I'm really interested to see what Nasse will bring to the Cars Tour. I think he's going to be a threat, especially after a couple races. They get the program really going. He really gets used to the car. I think he's going to be someone that Brennan Butterbean Queen and Carson Quaffle are going to have to look out for, because I think Stephen Nasse is going to be there, and he's going to say, like, hey, I'm here to win. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is a huge win for the Cars Tour. You have one of the best super late model drivers in the country with a significant fan base coming into what is arguably the best late asphalt racing in the country. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below.